Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting into? Of course we are getting back into Married at First Sight UK. We are now on series 10. We are now on episode 7 and it's moving in time and it's dinner party time. Let me just say, I honestly, I'm going to keep saying it, well and truly don't know where they got these people from. These people must have lied up and down the roads when it came to their applications and what it is they were looking for, because yeah, nah, some of them are just pure liars up in here, like pure liars up in here. So Maeve, actually, before I get into the episode, you see that I'm actually forgetting where I am right about now. Anyway, before I get into this episode, as I always ask my renegades and all those new people that are coming in, I thank you for still being here and rocking with me. Please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so we know when I'm doing videos. I continue to be on the road to 1k. So as I was saying before I forgot my train of thought, Maeve decided to let us know that she shares a damn toothbrush with Joe. Ew is all I can say. Ew. I'm close to my fella, yeah, but we ain't sharing no damn toothbrushes. No sorry Bobby. No. That she should have kept that to herself, for real. So as I said, they've all moved into with each other and we see Sarah and Dean. I honestly really well and truly wished that Dean saw the light on their honeymoon and left her the fuck behind. But of course, no. That wish has not been granted, people. It hasn't. So they're looking at the wedding photo and Dean picks it up and like asks Sarah, like, what were you thinking at the moment? Like, you saw me? And she stuttered. She stuttered because the truth wanted to push its way out of her mouth, but she was not going to let that happen at the end of the day. She had the nerve to say, I don't know, it was a lifetime ago. I thought, is this woman taking the piss? She knew exactly what she was trying not to say at the end of the day. She didn't like Dean from jump. He's not tall, he's not tanned, he's not tatted, and he's not slimlined, basically. That's her issues with him, yeah. Things that he cannot change at the end of the day. Just like, why did they send this girl home? Like, seriously, why have they not sent this girl home? I'm sorry, I can't stand that. I really can't. So she said, talking to the cameras and talking about how she's overwhelmed with everything. And at that point, I'm just like, mate, go home. That's all I'm saying, go home. You don't have to be overwhelmed with everything. You can take foot and go fast and go home. You don't have to stay with him at the end of the day. No matter how many times she starts the conversation with, oh, he's so lovely. Oh, he's so this. Oh, he's so that. Yeah, she's a liar. She's a liar. That's why she can't form a coherent sentence, because her thought process is all over the last place. Let's just say it that way. She's really saying to Dean's face she wonders if living together is like going to progress anything between them. I'm like, my lord, all it's going to do is give you more icks. That's all it's going to do, because once you get an ick, you can't get over that hill. You really can't. It's very hard to do so, and you have to put the groundwork in to be able to do it. Sarah is not going to do that with Dean. She's not, because everything about him to her annoys her, like fully, to the point where she's going to literally press this man down to try and conform to what it is that she likes. And that won't be the Dean that we all know and love right about now. I don't know how much you can stand there trying to convince yourself that you can make it work with someone when you know full well you don't like them. You don't like them at all. So Dean is trying to convince her by saying, like, you know, this isn't the first time that he's been friend zoned, but he can work through it. I'm like, Dean, my love, come on. Seriously, come on. This is like blowing smoke through holes at the end of the day, yeah. Her face is speaking for her at the end of the day. Dean needs to compute himself and look at this woman's body language, look at her face when he speaks to her, when he says that, you know what, I'ma try, I'ma do this, I'ma do X, I'ma do Y, I'ma do whatever. Yeah, look at the fucking state of her face. Like, seriously, she's not convinced. So then this girl starts crying when she's talking to Dean, and this is it. She's weaponizing her tears now to play victim, yeah, to say, oh, it's only become a bit too much. And she only cried, yeah, when Dean joked about touching all the wood and all this, that and the other to make sure that he was able to change her mind. This was her visceral reaction to her believing that she's stuck with Dean. That's what that was. Ain't nothing else. She weren't upset about anything else and that it had become too much. She was upset by the fact that she was stuck with someone like Dean. That's what she was upset about, and nobody can tell me any different at all. Dean is sitting there trying to make this girl feel better, but doesn't know that it's him that's making her worse. It's him that's making her this way at the end of the day. So Dean is like still in the I want to trust the process vibe. I'm like, mate, seriously, well and truly, if Dean could read Sarah's mind, he wouldn't be saying this shit. Let me just say it that way. I know people are probably thinking, oh, I want to feel bad for her. Oh, you gotta feel something. No, I truly don't feel nothing for this girl, because you know what, her attitude stinks. The way she goes about things stinks. The way she rips the piss out of this man stinks. I have no empathy for her at the end of the day. You reap what you sow, and that is what she's doing. She reaped what the hell she sowed at the end of the day. So we see Nelly and Stephen. Yes, I have heard very adverse things about Stephen, and this is why I don't like to try and watch things to preempt things, because I want my true reactions and my breakdowns to be my true reactions and my breakdowns, not another person's perspective on what's happened and what's gone on. I haven't got to that point yet, so I am going to reserve judgment at this point in time at the end of the day. So really, when I truly, don't expect me to be speaking on the Stephen debacle right about now. Okay, so I'm just going through the process of where I'm getting to in regards to watching this program at this moment in time. So Nellie's talking about how she's a bit apprehensive in terms of them moving in and how things are going to go, because she again is on the negative side in terms of waiting for the proverbial bubble to burst. And I'm like, sometimes when you speak negativity into existence, it normally happens. Ain't that the case? Like, seriously. So the biggest mistake, I would say, from Nellie's part at this point is she was asking Stephen what it is she should think she should work on herself. I'm like, you should have enough self-insight to be able to know what it is that you need to work on. Don't ask this man what you need to work on, because of course he's going to tell you the shit that pisses him off that you need to work on at the end of the day. So when Stephen turned around and he said, like, it's the working on her need for wanting reassurance from him all the time, I already done told you episodes past when he was meeting for the stag do that he'd already done said to that group the one thing he can't stand is neediness, and they matched him with Nellie, who is quite needy, who needs that constant reassurance. They say that, you know what, she's adept at reading that where she needs that reassurance, where she's probably self-sabotaging, but she doesn't change the behavior. She still wants it at the end of the day. And to be honest, if Stephen was really about Nellie, he would understand that her neediness is a trauma response at the end of the day for being shat on so many times by the men that she'd been in relationships. Because at the end of the day, if I was fucking cheated on as many times as Nellie have been cheated on in relationships where she's probably been vulnerable, let herself go, and then be shat on, then yes, I'd need reassurance too from the next person that I got into a relationship with, that if I show you who I am, you are not the fuck going to leave me or think I'm not enough and then decide to go take foot with somebody else. So I understand where Nellie's neediness is coming from at the end of the day. So Stephen is just basically saying it will be hard for him to keep giving reassurance if he feels that he has given enough. But also on the flip side, he's not understanding where it is that Nellie is coming from, because it is a definite trauma response to the shit that she's been through. So then we get to Leah and Leah. So Lee is very much in Delulu land because she thinks that there won't be any issues between her and Leah in regards to them living together. I mean, even though it was a short condensed space of time, they lived together when they went on a honeymoon, and she couldn't stand the girl. So I'm just wondering how that's going to compute when they're together all day, every day in each other's pockets at the end of the day. I don't know. Sometimes when Lee is talking about stuff, she does kind of get on my nerves, and I kind of think, like, you know what, Leah has feelings too at the end of the day, and sometimes I do wonder who the hell she thinks she's talking to. Yeah, because the tone that she uses just grates on me so much. So Leah is worried, like, as she shares with the cameras, that Lee might be this annoying princess and want to know right and wada and all this, that and the other. And I'm just like, mate, have you not met Lee? Have you not spent how many days with her on a fucking ice-capped mountain and realised how much this girl wants her own way? I mean, even from the bloody honeymoon, yeah? She banished you from the honeymoon suite so you could go sleep in a fucking cold dungeon. Come on now. Of course this is Pillow Princess. She wants her own way completely. She didn't get what she wanted, so she, as I keep saying, she takes it out on Leah. I don't know how she's going to change it, but we'll see how it goes on. So Leah said to Lee, like, as they were unpacking, like, I think we should have delegated jobs. This girl said, yeah, I'm not doing your washing. Actually, scratch that, because if I am doing the washing and we're in a relationship, then I'm going to do your washing as well as my own. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to pick apart that, you know, I'm not doing your washing and because that makes no sense. That does not a relationship make at the end of the day, because Lee might as well just turn around and say that, you know what, she's single because she ain't dealing with your shit. She's just going to deal with her own. I think it's stupid, because at the end of the day, if Leah goes and cleans up the kitchen, then Lee is going to expect her to clean up her mess as well as her own. Is it not? Yeah, I don't get the fucking mentality of these people. I really don't, and I'm struggling. I ain't even gonna lie to you people. I am essentially struggling with these people, with some of them anyway, to be honest with you. So we go to Julia, Ruth and Divarni. So Julia Ruth is talking about how she's glad that they have got their issues out early on, and now that they can tackle conflict when it comes up. Divarni, to me, doesn't seem too overzealous when she's talking, and all he's responding with is one word answers, like yes. That's all he's doing when Julia Ruth is talking. He isn't really inputting much. And I was just like, you know what, used to ain't tackled much, to be fair, at the end of the day. And I think more is going to come your way. So Divarni looks like he really, as I said, doesn't want to chat, to be honest. Julia Ruth continues to talk, and Divarni, at that point, to me, is not engaging at all. I mean, getting one word answers to actually fundamental things that you two need to discuss is not good. But when you also have a partner who is just talking and actually not talking to engage the person, that they're all about themselves and where they see themselves being within the remit that they're in and the issues that they've had, ain't great either. And that's what Julia Ruth tends to do. She tends to literally talk at Divarni rather than have a conversation with Divarni at the end of the day. And this is how these two find themselves on the separate ends on the freaking pole, let me just put it that way. So Divarni is speaking to the cameras and he's saying, like, you know, they've come back stronger and they've dealt with one thing. I was just like, dude, are you okay? Because you literally haven't dealt with that very, very well at the end of the day. And then he talks about how they're Britain's best married couple, and I'm just like, are you okay? Like, he's really talking them up, and he's talking about how he wants them, they're on a level of being an inspiration to other couples, and he wants them to find them inspirational at this dinner party. I'm just like, Divarni's not okay. Divarni has delusions of absolute grandeur. Even Julia Ruth was like, what? And it's at this point that I would have said to Julia Ruth, this is where you need to question this man, yeah, because she's not sure what Divarni heard when she was speaking to him. Yeah, but it definitely weren't what she was thinking at the end of the day. She says that her and Divarni don't have the same reality at all. And Julia Ruth is very much confused by how Divarni is chatting. And that's why I said at that point would have been a good idea for her to have that full-on conversation with this dude, especially before they got to the dinner. Do you know what I mean? Before they got to meet all the other couples, in terms of what it is that they're going to present to the couples when they go up there and show up as a couple. So we go back to my favourite couple, David and Kia. Oh, I've missed them. I've missed them being on my screen, to be honest with you. They've been just a breath of fresh air, and I hope to God that it stays that way for them, like seriously, because I love them both. I really, really do. And apparently they finally did the do. They're totally open with each other. As I said, I just hope that nothing comes along and fucks their shit up, basically. So then we go to Anita and Paul. I said from jump, I don't have high hopes for these two at all. Paul is too full on, and then you're in this condensed small space of the flat and he still doesn't stop. This man don't stop. So Anita wants to talk to Paul in terms of how they will move forward, because she feels red flags coming from him. So I was like, okay, so now she's gonna have the chat with him. So she tells Paul that she sees him as taking no interest in her life, which is true, because this man don't ask her a good goddamn thing at all. I mean, he has come on here to learn, and he is not, especially as I think, learning about how he is behaving and what he needs to do within a marriage, because at the end of the day, he's already said that his previous marriage broke down, yeah, because of how he behaved. But if he hasn't learned from those behaviours, then how in the hell is he going to make a good marriage out of this with Anita at the end of the day? So Anita asked him like how he'd found it, and he took like the experience itself, and he turned around and says like it's difficult times. So Anita says to him like, do you think you found out a lot about me? He bold-faced says no. He sits there and says no. So she said to him like, I know your children's names, do you know mine? Never mind, do you know my children's names? Do you even know how many grandchildren I have? Do you even know what my life is about? At the end of the day, this man bold-faced says no again. I was like, mate, Paul's taking a piece. He's taking a piece, because how you get married, go on a honeymoon, move in, and you still know nothing about the person that you married? I thought, no wonder why this man didn't date for 15 whole fucking years, man, because what? So Anita basically gets pissed at him, and she says to him that she's told him 100 times her children's names and he can't even take it in. So Anita at that point made the choice to say that, you know what, I need time out from this, and the fact that she wouldn't be living in the apartment with him, so she decides to move out. And I thought, you know what, good on you, Anita. Like, she has the backbone to know what ain't right for her, to know what ain't working for her at the end of the day, unlike some others, you know what I mean, Sarah, who literally can tell that, you know what, I need to leave this space because obviously there's some disconnect going on here. This man really had the nerve to feel rejected. Anita told Paul countless times what she wants, but Paul does not listen. He does not listen. And when she asks him again and again and again, he still don't know her. He doesn't take an interest in her. But now he's playing the victim. Now, at that point, I was like, Paul, you're taking a piece. You're taking a piece to sit there and think that, you know what, you've been through this situation time before. All you have to do now is concentrate on how to convince her to come back in a marriage with her. Mate, you'll be goddamn lucky. Like, seriously, you'll be goddamn lucky to get Anita back, honestly, because you're not giving her anything. And from when you don't give a person anything, that's it. They literally set down that this is not going to work. Anita's told him till she's blue in the ass face what the issue is, and he still won't change his behaviour. What did he expect was going to happen from that? So we get to dinner party time. So Sarah and Dean came in first. And I was quite shocked because they came in all excited and they were holding hands. And then I thought to myself, nah. This is a front. Yeah. It looked like it was fooling the experts, but I'm telling you, it would not last. That front would not last, because as soon as they sat down, Sarah looked like she wanted to be anywhere but other than with Dean. It was hella awkward at the end of the day. I think, as I says, they thought they would not be the first to arrive, and Sarah was prepared to put on that proverbial show for all the other people to show that she is in a good place. Yeah, but now that they first arrived, she don't have to do that, so she's reverted back to type, basically. So Sarah warns Dean to keep rapping or singing to minimum. I thought, bitch, please, bitch, please. And this is why I don't like this girl. She is determined to literally dim this man's shine. That's what she is determined to do. Yeah, so next Nelly and Steve come in. So Nelly's talking to Sarah and asking like how she felt about Dean. And I thought that's the $1 million question, but will this gal be honest with a fellow galley at the end of the day? We shall see. Again, Sarah comes with oh, he's lovely, but she was disappointed. Her whole face looked like she smelt a fart when she was talking about Dean. That's all I can say. And when she's talking about Dean and his rapping, I'm sorry, she may say that he's lovely, yeah, but how she talks about Dean is piss poor. It's very piss poor, and she puts him down consistently in her tone and her expression. She literally sat there taking the piss out of this man. And to be honest, I just, yeah, I can't with this girl, because she's trying to repackage it like she got the short end of the deal and people should feel sorry for her. That's how she's trying to repackage this shit, but she ain't. And to be honest, from what I watched, it gets worse throughout the night, let me just tell you that. So Mel said, like, this is one of the experts, she's sensing that the rap is a code for something else. And I thought, Mel, you hit the nail on the head, because it's not the rapping that she's really pissed at the end of the day, and it's the fact that Dean is big, he's not tall, he's not tanned, and he has no tattoos. That's the issue with this girl. She's supposed to be here to revert from type, but she's continually trying to go back to her type, who treated her like shit, by the way, who had massive red flags, by the way, who one actually abused her, by the way, but yet that's what she wants. And then you wonder why I really don't take to this woman. I don't take to her at all. So Dean is really hyper, like he's wishing for something to happen between him and Sarah. And at this point I'm like, mate, if you could honestly hear how this woman talks about you, yeah, and views you, Dean would not be so upbeat. Like, it's really sad to watch, because Dean is absolutely oblivious to how this woman feels and sees him. So in comes David and Kia. David and Kia like are falling for each other completely. Kia tells Dean and Stephen that David is perfect in every way at the end of the day, and all I'm thinking is, please let them just stay happy, like fully. So here goes Sarah again when she's talking to the cameras, or whoever it is she's talking to. She thought that there would be attraction, but she's not there. David even tells her that Dean is not a bad looking guy, and he ain't. He really isn't. He's absolutely lovely, and any woman that has him would be fucking happy at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? She just don't want to say that the man is fat without the backlash. That's what Sarah's on about at the end of the day. This is like watching someone continually swallow their words over and over again because Sarah can't say what it is she truly wants to say about Dean. That's what this is about at the end of the day. David said, like, to her, is it something like you can pass? Sarah goes quiet, yeah, for a minute, and she said, like, he has no tattoos. Super fucking official. Yeah, super fucking official. So David said, well, he can get some. Dean don't want none. Dean don't want none. This woman is skirting. Yeah, she's skirting the truth. The truth, because tattoos are absolutely freaking trivial, yeah, and all Sarah needs to do is tell the truth, yeah. It's because Dean is big and we all know that. That's what she's going off. That's what she's going off, but she can't, because she will end up coming out as a very, very terrible person. But she's coming out as a terrible person now. She's showing genuine fat phobic shit, and nobody's pulling her backside up on it, which is pissing me the fuck off, to be honest with you. So Sarah ain't being fair. She ain't being fair at all. So Paul, who's the expert, says that Sarah said her past types did not work and she wanted someone different and nice. I thought, mate, she was lying to you. She was lying to you, because she hoped to God that, you know, in her saying what her past types were, that you would give her what she wanted without the red flags. But that was never going to be the way at the end of the day. I mean, if Dean weren't the size that he was, this is what I'm saying, if Dean weren't the size that he was and was exactly wrapped up in a package of niceness, but with the tall, tanned and tatted persona that Sarah wanted, she'd be over him like white on fucking rice. This girl is shallow as fucking hell, and all I would say is Sarah has turned exactly into the mean shits that she dated. Like, mean shits that she dated. And all I kept on thinking is, the hope to God Dean saw the light and fucked her the fuck off. Now I know there's some kind of commotion, because I haven't got to it yet, around Sarah and I think some of the experts, because apparently, our snowflake people in the UK have decided to put complaints into Ofcom because they felt that Sarah was being bullied on the couch at the end of the day, when they drawed her up about her piss poor behaviour and the terminology she was using to describe Dean on the couch. So people decided to come up in arms because this girl decided to cry tears. Yeah, she decided to enact her weaponisation of her tears, to get the sympathy vote, when she has been fucking awful on this programme. And the experts did their job in pulling her up in terms of the fucking words that she was using, because she's being fully fat phobic with this guy. And people want to sit there and fucking complain because she ended up in fucking tears. Are they mad? Are they mad? Do you know what? Woosa. That's all I can say with this girl, because Woosa, I don't this girl, I don't like her. I really well and truly don't. So then in walks Joe and Maeve, and let's just say that they're happy. They are happy with each other, and I'm glad that that's happened with them. I was watching Sarah as Joe walked in, because Joe would be a bit of Sarah, to be honest. Let's just put it that way. So Maeve said, has anyone like christened their, like, you know, their flats? David acted cute and he leaned over, like, you know, and got a kiss from Kia and came back and said, like, you know, yes, like, we're happy for you too. We really are. So Sarah went, wow. Let me just say that was a low-key wow. Yeah, Sarah was jealous of the majority of people that walked in there so far, that were getting along so well and getting along like houses on fire at the end of the day. Even Grace and Ashley was more along than Dean and freaking Sarah. Let me just put it that way. So, yeah, Joe was shocked when Dean was talking to him, and he spoke about the fact that, you know I like to rap, I like to sing, it's part of my personality. And Dean told Joe that, you know, Sarah told him to stop rapping and singing. So Joe automatically believed, oh, she must be getting used to it now. I says, no, Joe, she's not. Even Dean explained to her, no, she wanted him to stop it completely. For Dean, that was like ripping off an arm. It really was, because it's his go-to when he feels happy, when he feels sad, when he feels any type of emotions. That's his go-to, and she literally ripped that shit from him. Like, ripped it from him. Even Joe asked, like, how are you doing, like, living together? Like, he asked if they were sharing a bed, and Dean said, yes, we are sharing a bed, but he's saying that he's not wanting to rush anything or wanting to cause any pressure. I have a feeling that Dean has reverted to the type that he always go to when girls tend to friend zone him, girls tend to overlook him. That's where Dean is right now. But for me, when I was watching it, I could hear the hurt in his voice. And I felt like he was convincing Joe that things were okay from his side, more so than Joe, because Dean knows that something ain't right. Dean knows that it ain't right. He knows it is. But what he doesn't want to do is literally decide to let go of everything at the first hurdle. He wants to continue to try and work at this, even though this woman is literally taking every essence of this man away from him. Like, seriously. So then in walked like Ashley and Grace, and they looked absolutely good to with each other. So when Grace was talking like to the girls, including with Sarah, like Sarah honestly believed that she had a comrade in arms because of how Grace first started to speak and how it wasn't so good with them, but then the work that they put in and where they are now. So So Sarah knew she didn't have a comrade in arms. And then here we go with Sarah again. It has to be about her in terms of speaking about Dean. She says there's no attraction. It's more like friend vibes. And I'm still sat here thinking, why is she still here? Why don't she tell the truth that she don't like Dean because of the package that he's in at the end of the day? I really honestly and well and truly can't with this woman at the end of the day. So this girl has the audacity to say that she wants to find the reason why the experts matched her, but yet on the honeymoon she was there talking about, well, I could see why the experts matched us. She's full of bullshit. She's honestly full of bullshit. Right now she's sitting there in jealous hell. Yeah, jealous hell in the fact that everybody that's walking in so far is coming in and their relationships, their marriages are good at the end of the day. And I thought, don't worry, love. Misery is coming. It's not going to be far behind. So you can definitely have some rotted company at the end of the day. So she says that Dean is not her usual type to the cameras. And I'm just kind of like, well, your usual type has thoroughly done you the fuck over. So, you know, how are you not open to trying something new at the end of the day? And I keep coming back to the fact that, you know what, someone really needs to tell this girl to leave now, because Dean is not going to have a happy life with this girl at all. And I think in pushing this marriage with these two is gonna basically be worse for both of them. Both of them, ain't gonna lie, at the end of the day, because she's taking up airspace for no reason, and Dean doesn't deserve something like this at the end of the day. So Sarah all but calls Dean desperate because of the fact that Grace is trying to show Sarah that Dean is trying to desperately make it work with her, and now she's got the fucking word desperation in her rotted mind. Yeah, it's giving her the ick. I'm just like, at this point, please give her the keys and tell her to leave. Because at the end of the day, Grace asked Sarah, does Dean know you have the ick? Of course Sarah said no, because she doesn't care about Dean at all. She don't care about his sensibilities. All she cares about herself. That's all she cares about. And I do feel it for Dean, because he's sitting there with the people them, yeah, pushing this forward, saying that he knows there's issues, he knows that she's not comfortable, he knows X, Y and Z, but yet he's still sitting there willing to try, while she's like with all the other couples ripping the piss out of this man left, right and centre. Like, seriously. Yeah. So Paul the expert does turn around, well, because you know the experts watch them while they're going through this dinner, and says like, what Sarah is doing is a sign of immaturity. He says that she has no clue as to what it is that, you know, she needs in life, and this is why Sarah will always be stuck with the types that she wants as Dean scales up, because he will move up from her while she continues to go down from him, and then keep sitting there wondering why the fuck it doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? So the next person to come in was Anita, and she does come in alone, and it's Anita explains why she came in alone. She basically told them that she needed headspace, and basically has her own apartment. Sarah says, like, you know, space is the best thing that you can have. And I thought, hark at her, yeah, maybe you should think about that too. Give Dean some rotted space from your fuckery. Yeah. So Anita sees it as Paul is more on like the page of self discovery rather than a love journey, whereas which Anita's at the end of the day. So Sarah and Nellie go over to Stephen, but Joe is there as well. And Sarah, I'm sorry, I did clock the looks, because she can't keep it to herself. She wants Joe, and you can see that she wants Joe at the end of the day. She finds Joe hella attractive because He's her type at the end of the day. And I thought, mate, don't even go there, because Maeve will twist your motherfucking neck off to each way to Sunday. Let's just put it this way. She will eat you for breakfast and hide your entrails in the desert. So I'm glad that Joe ended up bringing up Dean at the end of the day. So Joe was letting her know, like, this is what your man is saying. So as they're having a conversation, Sarah again goes in with the start off like he's a nice guy chat, and I'm like, you know what, fuck off, Sarah, like seriously. And Joe does say, yeah, Dean is a fucking great guy, because he is. Dean is a great guy. But Sarah then turns around and says, like, there's no attraction there. And Joe basically says to her, well, can't you at least try and make it grow? And she admits at last, no. Again, why the fuck is she here? Why is she here? And she says, looks wise, to be honest, she wanted a tall, tanned man with tats. That's what she's saying. I think, you know what? But with all those people, as people keep saying, they've been bar stewards, Sarah. They've been bar stewards. Do you know what I mean? I don't even think Joe finds you attractive, because at the end of the day, your attitude stinks. She's been doing Dean over at the end of the day, doing this dude over fully left, right and centre throughout this whole fucking process, like seriously. So in walks Rebecca and Bailey, and I've got to admit that they do like look good together, and she does tell the girls that, you know what, there was no instant spark at the beginning, but since the honeymoon she literally adores Bailey at the end of the day. And Sarah again lights up when they talk about there's no instant sparks, but then drops when they turn around and says that actually their relationship is going quite well because they've actually worked at it. Go figure on that one. Hey, so Sarah is talking to the cameras, and she's basically, as we already know, getting envious of everyone in the room. She talks about how the electricity is coming from them, and she's like, well, why is that not happening for me? I said, because you won't see past your own fucking red flags in terms of how much of a horrible person you are. You have someone that is good, someone that you ask for in terms of temperament that is nice, but because he ain't tall, tatted and tattooed, you don't like him. Oh, and because he's big, you can't stand him. Sarah really needs to grow some emotional maturity, like seriously, because it's severely lacking, and you can tell from my attitude that I don't like this girl. Me not like her. I don't. Yeah, I really don't. So in walks Leah and Lee. Straight off the bat, Lee's off with the issues about her getting used to someone who's more feminine than her, because she wanted, like, you know, the masc presenting woman. She talks about how they will build a friendship first, and I was like, mate, you didn't even want to give Leah that. Seriously, that's gonna come to a point. Hopefully they can work through it, but as we've Dean and Sarah, as we've Julia, Ruth and Divarni, as with Paul and Anita, I don't see it going past this, to be honest with you. I feel like they'll try to make a go of it within the experiment itself, but after the experiment, I will be very shocked if they are still together. Very, very shocked at the end of the day. So Leah is talking like to Bailey and Rebecca about how things are going, and Leah, I swear to God, I love her. I really do, but she's living in Delulu land, yeah, because she does say the sexual connection is not there, but they're working on friendship. But then she goes on to say, like, there's a deeper connection there, and it's what's been growing. And I was like, deeper connection where? Where has this been growing? Like, in the bloody Sahara fucking desert? Or the same place where Sarah's desire's gone to take refuge? 'Cause what? This, I just I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for fucking words here, people, because I just can't. I really can't with these people. I've never known people to work at things so much when they know it's all full of fuck shit, like honestly and truly full of fuck shit. So Nellie is sitting down talking, and basically she's getting freaked out. Like, she feels like she's known Stephen forever, And as I said, all I'm going to go is go with the flow. I'm not going to read too much into anything until I have to say what it is that I say from what I've seen at the end of the day. She's saying all this deep talk, like she's talking all this deep talk with Rebecca, and I forget the other person, I think it might have been Sarah sitting there, yeah, with Stephen sitting right next to her, like he can't overhear what the fuck it is that she's saying at the end of the day. Like she turns around and she's worrying about becoming so emotionally dependent on someone, and the fact that they may learn who she is and essentially then leave her, which is what has been the type of course for all the men that she's been with at the end of the day. I mean, Stephen has already warned her about her need for validation and reassurance all the time, yeah? So she needs to be careful that she don't fall into the trap of being the self-sabotage pocket at the end of the day, because this is why people, as I said, when they've been through trauma within their relationships, yeah, shouldn't be on these shows. They really shouldn't be on these shows until they're well and truly healed, yeah? And not be afraid to show people who it is that they are. Like, all that matters, if you accept you, then the other person should accept you for who you are, yeah? It doesn't matter if they don't. If they don't, then that's cool at the end of the day, unless you're an asshole like Sarah. You know, I had to throw that one in. You know I had to throw that one in. So then it comes Divarni and Julia Ruth. And Julia Ruth did the whole screaming thing with Sarah because, you know, the gals. And I was like, that kind of says something about your fucking energy to be gals with someone as fucking superficial as fucking Sarah at the end of the day. That's all I'm going to say on that one. So the energy between Divarni and Julia Ruth is completely different when they walk in. Like, Julia Ruth is hyped and Divarni has proper low energy. But what shocked me is the fact that Divarni went to the lads and telling them that him and Julia Ruth are yin and yang. I just thought, mate, Divarni is firmly in Delulu land, and I think he's there with Leah and with Dean. Because how you sitting there saying to the boys that used to are yin and yang, that used to your relationship is 100, when you know that ain't the fucking truth? You know that ain't the fucking truth. And the fact that you think Julia Ruth is going to have your back on that and not think that she's going to come in there and tell the truth to everybody else in terms of how negative and boring you are. Jesus wept. And this is where I keep saying, where in the hell did they find these people up? Where? Because I think Divarni literally wanted to put a positive spin on everything. Like, from when they were in the flats and Divarni was talking about being an inspiration to the other couples and yada yada yada, that's the point where Julia Ruth should have turned around and says, what the fuck are you talking about? Instead, she went quiet and went, inspiration. You could tell by her tone that she was very, very shocked by what he was saying, but she didn't draw him up on the situations that happened between them. She didn't draw him up and say, actually, when we go in, we cannot show a united front, because at the end of the day, we've have our difficulties and this is where we are at now, and that's what you need to share with the people then. Don't go in there and lie. She didn't say any of that. She literally sat back and let this man wind up like a wind up fucking toy, and then knowing full well, even from the car journey over there, that this is the presentation that this man was going to give, and she still said nothing. And this is what I mean. Don't stay quiet in the face of adversity at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Don't stay quiet to that shit. Open your rotted mouth and say, no. That's not how we're going to present. This is how we're going to present, because this is the realness of who we are right about now. Don't let that man believe that, you know what, you're going in there as a united front, because now this man is saying all kinds of fucking shit and you two are not on the same fucking page at all. So in walks Paul. And Anita did look kind of comfortable sitting next to Grace, but Grace, God love her, had her back at the end of the day. So Paul was like, all I want to do is speak to my wife. I want to know what kind of headspace she's in, because he's wishing to move forward. I thought that's all well and good, Paul, but the key words of understanding what it is that she wants is to fucking get to know her. That's the key fucking words. So Grace, my darling Grace, does turn to Paul and ask him directly, like, did you panic, or didn't you know, or didn't you take an interest when you forgot the names of Anita's children? Grace is playing a blinder. You see, she would be my kind of friend, because that's the type of friends that I have around me. They will ask the questions that I will fail to ask at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And get the answers that I wish to have answered. So Paul said, like, it took him 8 days to remember the groom's names, and he has 4 tattoos of his children's names and their dates of birth. And I just thought, well, mate, if you are that forgetful, then maybe you need to go and get checked out. Do you know what I mean? So Anita is saying, like, I've asked you questions like, what is your past relationship breakdowns? This man asked her, what did I say? I'm like, Paul, come on now. And Anita does explain that Paul likes to avoid the question, and he does do that a lot. He deflects a freaking lot. So case in point, when Grace turns to Paul and asks him about being vulnerable, he diverts to what he did that day, steaming his rotted clothes. And this is what Anita's talking about. There's no depth to him. There's no depth, or there could be depth, but he decides to ignore it. Anita don't want surface level. She doesn't want someone who is afraid to be open and be vulnerable at the end of the day. And Paul is not getting that. He ain't getting that, peoples. So Julia Ruth is talking to Stephen. She's talking to Joe, and she's talking to Rebecca. And she lets out how hard it has been for her. And Joe is very, very much shocked, because Divarni, as we know, is giving the spiel that him and Julia Ruth on the same page. They're yin and yang. They're both the same person. I tell you, that lie will come back to bite this man in the ass. So Joe tells Julia Ruth exactly what Divarni has been saying. And Julia Ruth, I'll give it to her, act really, really shocked. This is why I said I don't understand how she acts shocked when she knew that this was going to be the vein that he was going to come in with when it come to meeting the other couples. This man literally, as I've already said that he wanted to be an inspiration to the other couples, and she didn't get from that he was going to pull this shit. I don't know, maybe they could have checked in with each other before they walked into that room, but I think they both made the mistake of thinking that each one of them was on the same page when they actually were not. So it's within through this, before they went to go for dinner, that Julia Ruth does leave the room basically, and she is upset, and she leaves the room with David in terms of talking about the situation with Divarni, and the fact that she feels that she is the big bad person in terms of wanting to put in those barriers that she wants to put in place, wanting to say where exactly it is that they are. But she feels that if she does that, she will become the proverbial big bad person, because at the end of the day, she feels that Divarni, in saying what he's saying to other people, is making her feel and look stupid at the end of the day. So David is telling her that no, you basically are not in the wrong to actually open up and tell Divarni what it is that you want, what it is that you're not happy with, what it is that you're looking for at the end of the day. You can't continue, as she says, to smile through everything. You really can't at the end of the day, because Divarni is going to go off the energy that you're giving him, and if you keep literally smiling through every adversity, he's going to clearly think that there's nothing wrong, that you've worked through the bullshit, you've worked through the issues, and her thinking that she's going to be a bitch in pulling him up is ridiculous. Pull him the fuck up at the end of the day. So then you aren't sitting there in a fucking dinner place having to leave the room because you're literally crying your motherfucking heart out because you don't want to be seen as a bad person. Nobody's going to see Julia Ruth as a bad person in terms of pulling Divarni up on his bullshit at the end of the day. So I don't understand how she's feeling horrible in voicing what it is that she wants to voice. But then on the flip side, I will say that the last time she voiced what she wanted to voice, Divarni wasn't fully receptive and became quite aggressive with his bullshit. So that's probably why she's probably erring on the side of caution, because she wasn't necessarily created a safe space in which to tell her grievances to this man, because he took it completely the other way. So dinner is served. Let's just say Divarni didn't even realise where his wife had gone when Rebecca asked him, like, where's Julia Ruth? He didn't know. He didn't know at all, because he was too busy in his motherfucking bag. Do you know what I mean? So Dean steps up to do the toast. And I was like, I knew a rap was coming. I knew a rap was coming. And Sarah's face smelled like she smelled fart. Let's put it that way. She was moaning about when he did do the rap, like, you know, he's always rapping in the shower. He's always singing in the shower. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. So she's basically saying, like, the novelty has worn off. And I'm like, the novelty didn't even begin with you. Let's just put it that way. Again, can she go home, please? Can she the fuck go home? The people at the table loved it. The experts loved it at the end of the day. And then you see all of them like kissing, all the ones that are getting on well, they're kissing, doing whatever it is they're doing. And Sarah is getting so jealous. She's getting so jealous with all the touchy feeling and the kissing that's going on. Her face looks like a spanked arse, I ain't gonna lie. I can't feel no empathy for her. I'm sorry, because and it's truly because of how she's treated Dean throughout this whole process at the end of the day, because she is dimmed this man's light, to make herself feel comfortable. As I said some episodes before, she's become the mean girl that of the people that she's dated. She really, really has. So Paul is basically talking to Grace and Ashley, and Ashley's asking him about not asking Anita any questions, and he said it's because it's not his style. And all I can say is, how in the fuck do you hope to get to know someone if you don't ask questions about them? How do you really know if that they're right for you if you don't ask all the questions that you need to fucking ask? Oh Lord, I just can't with this show. This show is sending me somewhere else, like seriously sending me somewhere else. So Nellie gets in her insecurity bag and said to Stephen, like, basically she mentioned to Maeve and Rebecca, and I can't remember who else, I think it was Sarah. She'd said to Stephen, like, so you've seen all the wives, is there anybody that you will go with? I'm like, why the fuck would you say that to this man? Because at the end of the day, you really don't want to hear the fucking answer to that question. You really don't, And this is where Nellie again needs that full-on reassurance from Stephen, but she's doing it in other ways. Even Maeve says to the cameras, like, why did she ask? And then built on the fact that it's probably an insecurity of Nellie's. And Nellie basically turned around and says, like, oh, I'm giving myself the ick from just listening to me. And I thought, if you're not careful, you'll probably give Stephen the ick too. Do you know what I mean? So Julia Ruth does turn around to her and say, like, you know what, you seem like you're self-sabotaging because you have a guy that likes you, that's into you, and it's kind of like you can't believe that this person likes you and you're at the space that you're at. And Nellie does agree. The experts turn around and say that Nellie is kind of realizing what she's doing. I hear that. She may be in self-realization mode in terms of what it is that she's doing, in terms of asking for all these validations and reassurance and not wanting to self-sabotage, but will she be able to change that behavior of a lifetime is what I'm saying. So again, Julia Ruth leaves the table. Sarah at this point runs after her. Julia Ruth talks about how her light has been dimmed, and of course misery loves motherfucking company, doesn't it? Because Sarah will only talk to her because she's basking in the glory that her and Julia Ruth are on the same motherfucking page. They're feeling the same feelings because they don't like the people that they've partnered up with. That's why Sarah's happy. And as she said to the cameras, she is glad someone else is experiencing the same thing as her. As I said, misery loves motherfucking company. So Julia Ruth is basically talking about how she's struggling, and the fact that she has been glossing over how hard it's been. And this is why she hasn't truly told Divarni how she feels, because she is still giving the picture that everything is cool, and it's not. And that's what Divarni's going on. And that's why he's trying to paint the picture that them two are like that, when he knows that they're not, though. He knows that they're not. So Julia Ruth then ends up going to Rebecca and Joe to talk about what was said with Divarni. So Rebecca basically said to Julia Ruth, like, I went to speak to your husband, and she said that, like, the conversation that she's having with Julia Ruth was completely different to the conversation that she had with Divarni at the end of the day. I don't understand how Julie Ruth is shocked by that, because she already knew Divarni was going to play the United Front angle. She knew this, yeah, and she didn't seek to say anything to him about it at the end of the day. She knew that he was going to go into that dinner party and say what he wanted to do, because as again, he wanted to be an inspiration to these couples at the end of the day. So for me, I don't think Julia Ruth could really play the shock card, to be honest, at this point, because she knew what he was going to do. So Julia Ruth said, like, you know, we were going to tell the truth of it, but that in terms of like the honeymoon was a bust, but now they're trying to work through it at the end of the day. But Divarni honestly didn't get that memo, because this man came out of the gate lying. He was lying. Yeah, so Julia Ruth basically is talking to the cameras. She goes off about how she's so shocked about what Divarni's doing, how he's glossing over everything like there's some kind of power couple. All I'm going to say is, right, at the end of the day, she got what this man was going to pull. Again, I don't want to keep going over it and over it and over it. He continued with the same vein during the car ride to the dinner. What did she expect was going to happen from that conversation at the end of the day? Like, seriously. I can get why she's pissed. Because he's literally living in delusional land. And to be fair, if he was going to say anything, he should have went in there and been honest. He really should have. So she goes back into the room, and you see Divarni try to pull her close, and she kind of moves away from him and brushes his hand off. So Julia Ruth sits down next to him and asks him, like, directly, when people are asking how it went, what are you saying? Because the honeymoon didn't go well at all. Divarni lies. And Julia Ruth knows that he's fucking lying at the end of the day, because he turns around and he says, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying it was all Gucci at all. And I'm like, mate, you are. You're literally lying now. Bull-faced lying. There's no need for it. So Divarni is basically digging a bigger hole for himself, as Julia Ruth stated to him, like, who she spoke to and what they said. And this man turned around and said in the face of it all that it's not true. I thought, mate, if Julia Ruth ever pulls Joe and Rebecca into the conversation, yeah, just know, Divarni, that you are cooked. Like, seriously cooked. So Divarni says to the cameras, like, maybe our stories are different and I've maybe sugarcoated stuff, but he's talking about how it stemmed from pride. And what do they say? Pride comes before a fall at the end of the day, because Divarni's fall is because this man hasn't learned a freaking lesson about consequences in what he says. He says that he and Julia Ruth are a team and he's there to unite them, but you can't unite based off of a lie. You really can't, yeah, because now he's placing himself in this realm of being the victim, and then turning around and saying that at this moment he feels locked out. You fucking lied, mate. You lied about the state of your relationship, the state of your marriage, and you expect Julia Ruth to be happy with the fact that you fucking lied. And again, I don't know where to find these people from. I really don't. I really truly don't. So Dean is having a chat with Leah, and he is sitting there literally praising Sarah about how nice she is and da-da-da-da-da. And then it flips to Sarah having a chat with Maeve and with David, if you can call it that, because Sarah's being proper mean girl in it at the end of the day. She says to Maeve, like, Dean had asked her, like, if she'd been with someone fat before, and she turned around and she says no. And then she goes on to say that Dean had lost a lot of weight at the end of the day. So then it flips back to Dean telling Leah about Sarah, like, not being with a bigger person, and you can see and feel the fucking hurt that Dean is going through from that, but he's trying to mask it. So Leah does turn around and ask him, what do you mean bigger? We all know what he means, Leah. We all do know. But Dean won't say it, because then it calls into question Sarah and her behaviour towards him. He doesn't want that to be the issue that is glaringly possible in front of them both. So he flips back to Sarah, talking to Maeve and David, saying he keeps calling himself the funny fat kid. And she's saying it jovially, yeah. And this is where it becomes a thin line into fat shaming. That's all I'm gonna say. This, my people, is why I don't like this girl. Like, seriously, she ain't got a great fucking damn shape herself, yeah. But if Dean had said what the fuck she was saying about her, he will be dragged from here to Timbuktu motherfucking 2. So David tried to say to Sarah, like, do you remember when you said that you went for bad boys and the red flags? And Sarah had the audacity to cut him off and to say, well, Dean ain't a bad boy, is he? He's like a Care Bear. Fucking disgusting. She's mean. Again, can she go home, please? Because Dean don't deserve this shit. He really, well and truly don't. Even the experts pick up on how disrespectful Sarah is being when she speaks about Dean, and the fact that she has literal disgust for this man. And she really does, because he's a bigger man. She sees it as gross at the end of the day. And all I kept on thinking was, can someone please not call her out on the freaking terminology that she's using when she's talking about Dean in that moment? Because I could see that David and Maeve were disgusted by what she was saying, but were not saying anything towards her in regards to what the fuck she was saying. So then it comes to the fucking honesty box, and I thought, Lord have mercy. You know, with this honesty box, I'm telling you, the producers have that ready and waiting once they've seen how things are playing out. So the questions are very much tailored to what they've already seen, yeah. So don't think that they've brought this box out of the ether, yeah, and the questions are already laid in there. No, they already know what they're going to ask these couples. They know what they're going to ask these couples, and they're hoping that these couples will be honest with it, but you know they're not. So Ashley asked Grace, like, how well do you think they've got on since they got married? And Grace, as I said, like, you know, they've made lots of progression. They started at rock bottom, so the only really way that they could have gone is up at the end of the day. So Grace asked Ashley, like, what's her best and worst qualities? So he basically turned around and said that her best quality for him is, like, you light up everywhere you go. This is what he's saying to Grace. Everyone went, oh, and Leah jokingly said, marry me. I swear the look on Lee's face would have cut her dead if it could kill. Let me just put it this way. I was like, hold up. Don't say this woman is jealous. Don't say she's jelly belly. Because no, that could never be the case. Not with Lee. Leah had to tell her a couple of times that she was joking. Yeah, she was absolutely joking. But Ashley does say that the worst trait of Grace is the fact that she jumps to conclusions quite quickly. And I'm like, I mean, don't we all? Don't we fucking all, to be honest with you? So Dean asked Sarah what has been the hardest part of the experience for her so far. I was just like, being a bitch. Now, she said it's the intensity. I was like, fucking hell, did the lies get any more? So it's the intensity of marrying a stranger, then going on a honeymoon with someone she barely knows, and then moving in with someone. She says that she struggled, and she says to Dean, because she's looking for validation from Dean now, you know that I've struggled. And he's like, yeah. I thought, fuck you. That was a textbook fucking answer, and you weren't honest in that at all, Sarah, at the end of the day, because it's the fact that you have no attraction to this man because he's not tall, tan and tatted as you wanted. B, he's fat, because that's the real copulus of the issue. C, he gets on your fucking nerves with the raps and the songs because that's part of his personality. And D is because he gives you the icks because of his personality. Those were the truth about intensity, my freaking eye. That girl was a lying sack of shit. Lying sack of shit at the end of the day. And even the others were sitting there and like side-eyeing her, like, really? Intensity? After everything you just said tonight about this man? Yeah, she showed her true colours at that dinner party at the end of the day. So Sarah asked Dean, like, what do you hope for our future together? I was just hoping that Dean wouldn't answer that question, because Sarah is not worth it. But at the end of the day, he doesn't know where this woman is actually coming from. So Dean says, like, he wants to get to know her, to grow, and wants that spark, and he wants it to be magical. And I honestly feel it for Dean. I really, really, really do, because Sarah is so dishonest in return. So She then has the audacity to say to the cameras, like, what he said made her cringe. She makes me cringe. She really well and truly does. Again, when is she going? Seriously, I just can't keep pulling this woman up on her absolute fuckery, but she needs to leave this show. She ain't worth it. Like, seriously not worth the airtime. If no one pulls up Sarah on her fuckery, then no one should really pull up Paul, and they definitely shouldn't do it with Divarni either, because I'd be questioning why. Sarah literally is at the cameras saying how she's gave this opportunity and experienced everything. Has she? Fuck. She took one look at Dean and said, this is not it. And the beach has never been the same ever since. Let me just put it that way. I'm sorry to keep calling her a beach, but it's all I can say. Is all I can say. It does go to Nelly and Stephen, and Stephen does ask Nelly, like, do you see yourself falling for me? And I thought, that's a loaded question for Nelly, yeah, especially with a person with so many insecurities. At first I didn't think she would tell the truth, but she did. She turned around and she said, like, you know, yeah, but wanted to move it on pretty quickly. So Lee definitely asked Nelly, like, why is it so hard for you to talk about, like, you know, falling for somebody? And Nelly does explain the situations that she's been in previously, and the fact that she's been afraid to open up and be emotional with someone, and then thinking, you know what, I've opened up to you, I've shown you who I am, and then this person decides, like, you know what, you're not it for me at all. And that's when her bubble bursts at the end of the day. I am going to say that many episodes ago I did feel that Stephen was quite arrogant in how he behaved, and I think Nelly will be too much for him in regards to the validation and neediness that she wants. Because he's sitting there hearing her intently, but at this point he doesn't necessarily, because she's tearing up, he doesn't necessarily offer her any comfort, yeah, until she's finished speaking. And that's when he kisses her and says to her that, you know what, seeing his family take to Nelly is, for him, was getting validation and reassurance that she's a good one. And then he loved to hear that at the end of the day, because it was the reassurance she was looking for. But for me, I would read in between that at the end of the day. Like, he couldn't necessarily say what it was about Nelly that made him want to gravitate towards her to give her that reassurance. It's more so the fact that he pulled his family out of the bag to say they gave him the reassurance that the experts had picked a good one. Didn't necessarily come from him, but hey ho, we shall move on. So Paul asks Anita, like, what are the 3 things I can do to make this marriage work? I mean, I could have answered that, but let's see what Anita says, shall we? She says, listen more, find out a little bit more about her, start asking questions about her. I would have tacked on and to retain the motherfucking information, because it ain't great that he forgot her children's names. Let's just put it that way. It looks like Paul definitely has a big issue with his memory, because this man had to write down what Anita said. Like, seriously. And Anita did mention that he does have post-it notes around his home to remember what the fuck he needs to do for work. I bet he remembers what the dates he's meant and the times he's meant to go to golf with the lads, though. Let me just put it that way. So I'm kind of wondering if he only remembers what he wishes to or deems important to him, or does he have a real issue with his memory? Because if it's the latter, he needs to go get that looked out. Let me just put it that way. So Anita asked Paul, how much are you willing to fight for this marriage? Of course, Paul deflects. He turns around and says, you know what? Well, fight isn't the right word for him. He doesn't want to fight with Anita. And I'm like, mate, the question is literally asking you, what are you willing to do to save your marriage? All he can talk about is that he don't like the terminology. He didn't answer the question in the slightest at all. And I'm not surprised that Anita was not feeling his answer at the end of the day, because he deflected yet again. So you see Kia, he asked David, like, how did you feel when you turned around and you saw me walking down the aisle? All I'm going to say is, with these two, it was just them two in the room. The way that David gives Kia literally eye contact is superb. Let me just tell you, the way that he looks at Kia, and I was like, oh, Be still my beating heart. He answered it so damn beautifully, and I'm tearing up already. I'm quite sad today, but hey ho, I will get over it. But I'm tearing up already because it was just, oh, it was beautiful. It was honestly beautiful just to see them two together, and I really hope to God that nothing fucks them up and they can get through to the other side and say that, you know what, we're married. But yeah, it did give me a tear and already. Oh, tearing up. Tearing up. So Lee asks Leah, do you think you like me more than I like you? I would have said straight up yes, to be honest with you. Leah said she thinks that she's moving faster than Lee's. To be fair, she ain't wrong. She is not wrong at the end of the day. And Lee basically says that, you know what, the challenge for them is whether the romance can come or not. And I'll agree with Lee at the end of the day. She's being honest. And I think that it will get to a time that Leah will quit trying with Lee, to be honest. And I don't think that's too far behind, because they are not meant to be together. They're really not. I don't see them being together for the long haul, and it would shock me if they do. So Joe asked Maeve how she feels about him right now, and Maeve was able to be open and vulnerable and tell him that she really, really, really does like him. So Joe talks about how he's got all the butterflies for her, especially when he looks at her, and I thought, that's a surefire path to love, my friend, if you're feeling all those feelings, Joe. It really is. So Maeve and Joe are having a cute moment at that point, because all Maeve and Joe wanted to do was leave that dinner party and go cuddle with each other. Camera skips to Sarah's face while she's watching them, and it is the worst. She looks so jealous. She looks so jealous that she couldn't have what they have. And then we go to who we needed to hear from, Julia, Ruth and Divarni. They were on it. As I said, the producers were on it with the questions, because you know the questions were aimed at how the night was playing out. So Julia Ruth asked Divarni, how do you think I feel about our marriage? And I thought, okay, will Divarni tell the truth? So now Divarni has been put in the hot seat. He has to tell the truth, yeah, because there's no way he could lie to Julia Ruth at the end of the day, no matter what the fuck he said for the other people in the group. So all the group are like, he didn't say that in the beginning, basically, because he's talking about how they hit hard times. He's talking about how the honeymoon was not all glitz and glam. And I just thought, you like sitting there listening to this, you need to keep quiet. You need to keep quiet, because you didn't pick up on Paul, you didn't pick up on Sarah when she straight out lied about the fuck as to why she's still in this and what her difficulties are. So let Divarni have his piece. So Divarni said, like, how you truly feel is a bit turbulent. I was like, oh, I was kind of feeling it for Divarni, because he literally was put in the hot seat, yeah, but at the end of the day, it serves him right for lying. It really does. So Julia Ruth still thinks that Divarni is in La La Land. So Divarni asks her, like, what is one thing you could change about me? And I already knew she was going to say his negativity, but she didn't talk about the fact that he was boring, though. She really did not talk about the fact that she finds him boring. She did talk about the fact that, you know, she wanted someone where their energy levels would meet hers. Like, she wanted him to match her energy, and she does struggle with him in terms of his negativity, and she's just plain old tired. And that's why I said in the previous episode that Julia Ruth's sparkle is gone, because Divarni zapped it away with his energy stealing vampiric self at the end of the day. So I hope that he's hearing and he's listening to her to be able to make the changes that she's seeking. So you see the fuckery of whoever it is who did these questions, because the turnaround for Rebecca and Bailey, and they had to choose who they think is the strongest and weakest couple at the table. I thought, that's fucking off, yeah. I wouldn't have answered that question at all. I'd have said, nah, I'm not answering it. Really, really, well and truly not. Yeah. So Rebecca says Nellie and Stephen were the strongest. I wouldn't have picked them, to be honest with you. I probably would have went with David and Kia, but then that may have been the obvious choice. But I definitely would not have picked Nelly and Stephen, because my next choice probably would have been Joe and Maeve at the end of the day. The weakest they said was Paul and Anita. And I think that's just because of the fact that these two came in alone, and Anita is definitely living in a separate space to Paul. So there's definite issues going on there. And she then says as well, on par with Julia, Ruth and Divarni. I would have added in Dean and Sarah in that mix too, to be honest with you. I mean, Julia Ruth did take it hard when Rebecca said that, and I'm like, but you and Divarni are on clear different levels when it comes to this relationship, and people can clearly see that the issues that are between you. I mean, Julia Ruth spent majority of that night fucking crying. Seriously, fucking crying. So I can kind of see why Rebecca thought there was a weakness with them. Anyway, that is where that episode ended. I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode, my renegades, and all those that are coming in. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so we know when I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because I continue to be on the road to 1k. Peace out.